Dhaka, Bangladesh, is one of the most densely populated cities in the world. 17 million people live in a space smaller than Chicago. Dhaka is a vibrant hub of culture and commerce, but it is also a city facing immense environmental challenges. Global warming is hitting Dhaka particularly hard, with temperatures there rising at an alarming rate. Situated in the Ganges River Delta, the delta is naturally prone to flooding, and climate change is making the problem worse. Sea level rise is pushing saltwater inland, contaminating drinking water and destroying crops. The city's low elevation and flat terrain make it even more vulnerable to flooding. The city's infrastructure is struggling to cope, with drainage systems overwhelmed. This leads to frequent and severe waterlogging. The impacts of climate change are not just environmental, they are also economic and social. Floods and heat waves disrupt businesses, displace communities, and exacerbate poverty. The poor and marginalized are hit hardest, often lacking the resources to adapt to the changing climate. Climate change is already a daily reality for Dhaka, a harbinger of the challenges many megacities will face in the coming decades. Dhaka's experience offers a glimpse into the future of urban areas. As the planet warms, cities must find ways to become more resilient to climate change. Dhaka is experiencing what is known as the urban heat island effect. This phenomenon occurs when cities trap more heat than surrounding rural areas. Dhaka's dense concrete jungle amplifies this effect. Buildings and paved surfaces absorb and retain heat during the day and release it slowly at night, making Dhaka significantly hotter than surrounding areas. Several factors contribute to Dhaka's extreme heat. One is its high population density. The sheer number of people living in Dhaka generates a lot of heat. Another factor is the city's lack of green spaces. Trees and vegetation help to cool the air, but Dhaka's rapid urbanization has come at the expense of its green cover. The city's industries and traffic also contribute to the problem, with factories and vehicles releasing large amounts of heat and pollutants that trap heat in the atmosphere. Dhaka is a major manufacturing hub and a city of millions of cars, rickshaws, and buses. The heat is taking a toll on Dhaka's residents. Heat stroke and other heat-related illnesses are on the rise, with the elderly, the very young, and those with underlying health conditions particularly vulnerable. Dhaka's heat is exacerbated by its geography. The city is located in a basin surrounded by rivers, which traps heat and pollution. The situation is worsened by the lack of wind corridors, open spaces that allow wind to flow through the city. Dhaka's air quality is among the worst in the world, suffering from high levels of particulate matter, ozone, and other pollutants. These pollutants have serious health consequences, potentially causing respiratory problems, heart disease, and cancer. Children are particularly vulnerable to the effects of air pollution. The combination of heat and air pollution creates a dangerous feedback loop. Heat exacerbates the effects of air pollution, and air pollution in turn traps more heat. This creates a vicious cycle that is difficult to break. Climate change is expected to worsen these problems in the coming decades, with temperatures projected to continue rising and rainfall patterns becoming more erratic. This will lead to more frequent and severe heat waves, floods, and droughts. Dhaka is highly vulnerable to the impacts of sea level rise. The city is located on low-lying land. Much of it is less than 10 meters above sea level. A 1-meter rise in sea level would inundate a significant portion of Dhaka, displacing millions of people. The city's water supply is also at risk. Rising sea levels are already contaminating Dhaka's groundwater with salt, making it difficult to find fresh drinking water. The city's infrastructure is ill-equipped to deal with the impacts of climate change. Drainage systems are inadequate and are unable to cope with the increasing frequency and intensity of rainfall, leading to widespread flooding. The city's roads, bridges, and buildings are not designed to withstand the impacts of climate change. Dhaka's residents are already feeling the effects of climate change, with many people being forced to move from their homes due to flooding and other climate-related disasters. This is putting a strain on the city's resources and is also leading to social unrest. Dhaka is facing a daunting challenge. The city must find ways to reduce its carbon footprint and adapt to the impacts of climate change that are already being felt. This will require a concerted effort from the government, businesses, and citizens. The government of Bangladesh has taken some steps to address climate change. It has developed a national adaptation plan, which outlines a range of measures to reduce the country's vulnerability to climate change. The government is also working to promote renewable energy and energy efficiency. Dhaka is implementing several initiatives to increase its resilience. The city is investing in early warning systems for floods and is working to improve its drainage system. Dhaka is promoting rooftop gardens and urban forestry. International organizations are also playing a role, providing financial and technical assistance to help Bangladesh adapt to climate change. Dhaka's experience is a reminder that climate change is not just an environmental problem. It is a development problem, a social justice problem. Addressing climate change will require a global effort. We must work together to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and help vulnerable communities adapt to the impacts of a changing climate.